Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In the late 1970s, America was caught in a whirlwind of transitions. Gas lines stretched around corners. Inflation ticked upward with a quiet menace. Technology was beginning to whisper about the future, while nostalgia clung to the fading threads of post-war simplicity. Amid this backdrop, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia struck hundreds of millions of dimes in 1979. Coins that bore the familiar face of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Nothing seemed unusual. Nothing that would catch the eye of the casual observer. But buried deep in the rhythm of production, something subtle slipped past the machinery. The Roosevelt dime had by then become a routine part of American life. First introduced in 1946, it symbolized national gratitude toward the president who had guided the country through the Great Depression and World War II. Its design had remained mostly unchanged, and by 1979, the coin was minted with unremarkable regularity. But the truth is, sometimes the most interesting stories lie in places we least expect to find them. It started with a flicker. A Pennsylvania coin collector named Denise Allard had always preferred dimes. She liked their compactness, their often overlooked elegance. For years, she'd searched rolls from local banks, hunting for silver remnants, oddities, and double dies. In October 1984, she was unwrapping a bank box filled with older rolls from the late 70s. She didn't expect much, just a way to pass a rainy weekend. But one coin caught her attention. At first, it looked like any other 1979 Roosevelt dime. But under her jeweler's loupe, she noticed something peculiar. Roosevelt's profile, normally crisp and well-defined, seemed shadowed. There was a faint doubling around the letters, Liberty, and along the date, especially the 9. She tilted the coin in the light. The doubling wasn't from wear. It was sharp, intentional. A classic example of a double die obverse. She didn't know it yet, but she had stumbled upon a major variety. In the numismatic world, double die coins result from a misalignment during the die creation process. When a working die is improperly impressed by the hub more than once in slightly different positions, it creates a doubling effect that's then transferred to every coin it strikes. By 1979, this kind of mistake was already rare. Quality control had improved over the decades. Yet somehow, a flawed die slipped into production, and a small batch of coins made it through. Denise sent the coin to an expert in New Jersey. The response came a few weeks later, confirmed. It was a true double die. A rare one. The die markers suggested it originated from the Philadelphia Mint, and very few examples had surfaced publicly. Word traveled slowly, through newsletters and conventions. Collectors began searching their own hoards. A few more examples appeared, always from older rolls, always with subtle but undeniable doubling on the obverse. But they were never common. For every 1,000 dimes checked, maybe one turned up with the error. Most didn't even realize they held something valuable until someone else pointed it out. The 1979 dime error remained an underground secret for years. Not cataloged widely, not featured prominently in major price guides. But among dedicated Roosevelt dime collectors, it became a quiet grail. As the 1990s rolled in, coin shows saw a slow uptick in discussions around the variety. A dealer in Ohio paid $60 for one in AU condition. A Texas seller managed $110 for an MS-63. These were whispers in a market that still largely overlooked Roosevelt dimes, coins seen as too modern, too plain. But that perception was beginning to shift. By 2003, PCGS had certified fewer than a dozen examples of the 1979 double die dime in mint state. Collectors began taking notice. More error hunters turned their attention to dimes, scanning for telltale signs, split serifs on the letters, notch numbers. A few more surfaced, each one fueling a slow-burning fire of interest. But then something unusual happened. At an estate sale in Michigan, an elderly man's coin collection was being cataloged. In an old, dusty album labeled, "Roosevelt set, complete," A coin dealer named Travis Ortega discovered a 1979 dime that didn't just show doubling on the obverse. It had doubling on the reverse too. Clear, dramatic doubling on the torch and the word 1. He'd never seen anything like it. He submitted the coin for grading. The result stunned him. A rare dual-sided double die, one of the only confirmed examples of its kind for that year. That dime sold privately for $7. 200. The story reignited interest in the 1979 Roosevelt dime. It wasn't just about doubling anymore. Collectors began speculating. Could there be other varieties? Other errors from the same batch? Theories swirled: misaligned hubs, reused dies, or even experimental minting. Some went as far as to suggest the coin was struck during a transitional period, with remnants of pre-1980 die designs. The mint, of course, never confirmed anything. By 2010, prices for high-grade 1979 double die dimes had crept into the thousands. But with so few confirmed examples and a narrow group of specialists interested, the value curve remained a slow climb rather than a sharp spike. Then came the internet era. Online coin forums, video reviews, and social media groups brought new life into error hunting. Images of the 1979 double die spread faster. Young collectors began pulling pocket change and flipping it under USB microscopes. A new generation rediscovered what Denise had found decades earlier, and in doing so, added energy to the market. One YouTuber's video showcasing a raw, ungraded 1979 double die hit over 1.2 million views. The coin featured only moderate doubling, but the excitement it generated led to a rush in submissions for grading. Today, the error remains rare. While a few hundred 1979 double die dimes are believed to exist, fewer than 40 are certified in mint condition. Most show light circulation wear. Many remain undiscovered, hidden in jars, drawers, and long-forgotten rolls. And for a coin minted in the hundreds of millions, that rarity is striking. Collectors who once dismissed Roosevelt dimes as too modern now treat certain varieties with reverence. The 1979 double die isn't just a curiosity anymore. It's a prize, evidence that even in the modern era, mistakes happen. And sometimes, those mistakes become legends. In April 2025, at a major coin show in Atlanta, a pristine 1979 double die dime graded MS-68 with full band sold at auction. It was the highest graded example ever recorded. The final hammer price, confirmed and documented, stunned even seasoned collectors. $18,500. The early 2000s carried a certain energy, an uneasy blend of optimism and change. The world had shifted, technology was evolving rapidly, and across the country, people were adapting to a faster, more digital era. The United States Mint, meanwhile, continued its steady rhythm of coin production, largely unnoticed by the general public. In 2002, among the coins flowing from presses in Philadelphia and Denver, the Roosevelt dime remained quietly in circulation. Most paid it no mind. But something unusual slipped through the cracks that year. Something that would go unnoticed for years before its true identity was revealed. The Roosevelt dime had long served its purpose without much fanfare. Since 1946, it had carried the familiar profile of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and the torch, oak branch, and olive branch on the reverse. For decades, it was a fixture in change purses and vending machines. By 2002, it was minted with high precision using advanced techniques. Errors weren't expected. But as history shows, perfection is a myth, even in machinery. Some collectors swear that the best finds come when you're not really looking. For Jonathan Meyer, a part-time coin enthusiast from Oregon, that held true. He had been sorting coins more out of habit than hope, scanning rolls of dimes from a local bank while watching an old documentary on silent films. His focus wavered. The coins clinked in a quiet rhythm. Then, something peculiar caught his eye. It wasn't the design that looked strange. It was the texture. The dime felt slightly different in his fingers, rougher, uneven along the rim. He held it up to the light. At first, it seemed like damage, the kind of thing that happened when a coin was run over or chewed by time. But closer inspection told another story. The entire obverse was off-center. Not drastically, but just enough that Roosevelt's portrait shifted awkwardly left, nearly touching the rim. The lettering, particularly Liberty and In God We Trust, curved unnaturally. But the edges were clean. The reading wasn't flattened. This wasn't post-mint damage. It was an actual minting error. He was holding a 2002 Roosevelt dime with a dramatic off-center strike. Excited but cautious, Jonathan compared it to other coins. It stood out immediately. The error wasn't subtle. It was undeniably the result of a misalignment between the die and the planchet during the striking process. Off-center errors like this are rare in modern coinage, especially after the improvements in minting precision throughout the late 20th century. But here it was, plain as day, tucked among dozens of ordinary dimes. He sent it to a local coin dealer, who confirmed it was authentic and recommended grading. The dime received a designation for a 15% off-center strike and was graded MS66. While not headline-worthy yet, it sparked a series of conversations online and in regional shows. Other collectors began to revisit their 2002 rolls. And as fate would have it, more unusual 2002 dimes began to appear. Some showed severe misalignment. Others displayed die cracks, thin, jagged lines cutting through Roosevelt's face like age-old fractures in marble. One particularly dramatic example had a retained cut on the reverse, obscuring the United States of America. These were not common, but they were clearly more prevalent than anyone had realized at the time. Collectors began to wonder, was something unusual happening at the mint in 2002? No formal explanation ever emerged, but speculation grew. It was a year of growing demand for coinage, and both the Philadelphia and Denver mints were running at high capacity. Under pressure, a handful of dies might have slipped into production with defects. A misaligned collar, a loose planchet feeder, small flaws that created a perfect storm for mint errors to escape undetected. For years, the 2002 dime error remained something of a niche curiosity. It never made the front page of coin magazines, never commanded the kind of buzz reserved for 1955 double die cents or 2004 Wisconsin extra leaf quarters. But in its quiet way, it carved out a place in the hearts of modern error collectors. What made the coin so compelling wasn't just the error itself, it was the story behind its discovery, and the fact that it surfaced in an era where such mistakes were thought to be virtually extinct. The dime, a coin of small denomination and smaller stature, had once again defied expectations. As the 2010s rolled on, certified error dimes from 2002 began showing up more frequently at auctions. A few changed hands for modest sums, $100, $250, even $400 for high-grade examples with dramatic misstrikes. But the market remained limited to those who truly understood the nuance of minting mistakes. Then, in 2021, a collector from Illinois listed an extraordinary example on a major auction platform. This 2002 dime wasn't just off-center. It had been struck on a mis-cut planchet, an elliptical blank that had only partially fed into the die. The result was astonishing. Roosevelt's profile appeared like a ghost, only half visible. The reverse was distorted, warped by the incomplete strike. Graded MS67, the coin was called a 1 in a million piece by the grading company. It sold for $6, $800. From there, the tide began to shift. More collectors entered the fold. Error coin enthusiasts started taking the 2002 dimes more seriously. New varieties were cataloged. A collector in Florida identified a coin with doubling on the reverse torch, a new discovery. Another dime surfaced with a rotated die strike, aligning the obverse and reverse at a strange, jarring angle. It wasn't just the big errors gaining attention. Even minor die chips and cracks from 2002 began fetching premiums. Some speculated that the year would eventually be remembered as a quiet landmark in modern-era history. A year when the Roosevelt dime, long overlooked, made a surprising return to relevance. By 2024, prices had climbed steadily. Common off-center strikes in mint state were selling for over $500. Dramatic miss strikes fetched higher sums, particularly those in pristine condition. Collectors now discuss 2002 with reverence, noting how a year once dismissed as ordinary had delivered some of the most compelling modern errors in decades. And yet, the most surprising twist came not from a coin in circulation, but from a sealed bag stored in the archives of a small Midwestern coin shop. While inventorying old stock for liquidation, the shop owner came across a forgotten bundle of unsearched 2002 mint bags. Inside, tucked among thousands of dimes, was a flawless, full brokerage error, where one coin had struck another instead of a planchet, leaving behind a mirror image on one side and a blank reverse. It was nearly perfect. Sent for grading, the coin received an MS-68 and was labeled Brokerage Obverse 2002p Roosevelt dime. It was the only known example from that year in such condition. The auction drew attention from collectors worldwide. In February 2025, the coin crossed the auction block in Baltimore. The final bid? $12,750. Absolutely. Here's a 500-word storytelling style YouTube video script about the 1980 US 1 dime coin, complete with historical context, a collector's journey, value evolution, and a dramatic ending, but rewritten to feel fresh and unique compared to earlier scripts. ****. Opening scene. A quiet coin shop in a small Midwestern town. Rain taps softly on the windows. The camera slowly zooms in on a dusty wooden counter where a weathered coin rests under a glass case. Narrator, calm and reflective sometimes, treasure isn't buried in the sands of far-off lands. Sometimes, it jingles quietly in the bottom of an old coffee can, forgotten for decades. This story begins with a dime. A dime from 1980. ****. Cut to black and white images of America in 1980. Gas lines, Reagan campaign posters, a Rubik's Cube being solved, Pac-Man blinking on an arcade screen. Narrator ****. The year was 1980. America was shifting. Economically uncertain, politically charged, culturally transforming. Inflation had rattled the nation for years, and yet amid the chaos, everyday life carried on. People worked, shopped, voted, and paid for groceries with coins like the Roosevelt dime. But not all dimes were created equal. ****. Cue suspenseful music as the camera pans across minting machines and coin bags. Narrator ****. In that very year, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco produced millions of Roosevelt dimes, standard 10-cent pieces bearing the profile of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and the torch, oak branch, and olive branch on the reverse. A symbol of strength, peace, and liberty. Nothing unusual on the surface, but behind some of those silver-toned discs, something unexpected lurked. ****. Cut to a young boy in 1980s attire emptying his piggy bank. He finds a shiny dime and slips it into his wallet. Narrator ****. Let's fast forward to a dusty attic in Dayton, Ohio. 40 years later. That boy is now a retired math teacher named Leonard Granger. One rainy afternoon, Leonard was cleaning out boxes long sealed with masking tape. Inside one, his childhood wallet. And tucked behind a faded library card, that same dime. He turned it over absent-mindedly, and something struck him. The coin looked perfect. Too perfect. No mint mark. No wear. A gleam that defied time. ****. Camera zooms in dramatically on the 1980 date on the coin. No mint mark. Narrator ****. Curious, Leonard took the dime to a local coin shop. The shop owner, an old collector named Marcy, squinted at the coin and fell silent. She reached under the counter, pulled out a magnifier, and whispered, "This might be something special." You see, in 1980, all coins from the Philadelphia Mint were traditionally minted without a mint mark. But due to evolving standards and changes in quality control, a small batch of dimes either lacked key features or were struck with razor-sharp precision that defied typical wear. Some even featured subtle doubling, misalignments, or missing clad layers, freak accidents that today command the attention of elite collectors. And Leonard's dime? It fell into that category. Cut to a flashback of the minting process. A press jams, a die misaligns, a coin slides off the conveyor belt unnoticed. Narrator asterisk, these weren't coins meant to be rare. They weren't minted in gold or struck for commemorative sets. They were simply the product of a moment, a split second when man, machine, and metal danced imperfectly together. That's what makes them extraordinary. Cut to a montage of collectors around the country discussing rumors of the error dimes from 1980. Collector voiceover off camera. There was this one with an off-center strike, another with a missing clad layer, pure copper core on the obverse. It was wild. Narrator asterisk, as word spread, so did the value of these accidental marvels. While most 1980 dimes remain common and worth just face value, a select few, especially those with pristine condition or verifiable errors, began commanding attention at auctions. Enter Leonard's next chapter. Cut to a prestigious coin auction in Chicago. Spotlights. Velvet cases. The crowd hushed in anticipation. Narrator asterisk, with Mars's guidance, Leonard submitted his dime to PCGS, the professional coin grading service. The result? MS-68, mint state 68. Near perfection. And not only that, but PCGS confirmed a subtle, almost invisible strike-through error on the obverse. One of only a handful ever documented for 1980.AT. The Chicago Numismatic Showcase. Leonard's coin sat quietly beneath a spotlight. Some collectors walked by without a second glance. Others paused, sensing something unique. When the auctioneer raised the gavel, the room tensed. Then, it happened. Pause. Sound fades. Slow motion shot of gavel hitting. Narrator, softly sold. For $107,000. Cue dramatic music. A rush of light. Leonard, emotional, shaking hands with Marcy. Narrator asterisk, from the bottom of a childhood wallet to the center of a national auction. The journey of a humble 1980 dime reminded the world of one timeless truth. Rarity doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes it waits quietly, decades even, for the right hands to uncover it. Not in gold, not in glory, but in something as simple as a forgotten coin in a box of memories. Cut to Leonard at home, sipping tea, smiling at a newspaper clipping of the auction. The rain continues outside. Peaceful. Narrator asterisk, so check your drawers. Empty the jar on your kitchen shelf. Take another look at that pocket change, because sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest stories, and in the case of one particular 1980 Roosevelt dime, that story was worth $107,000. Fade to black. Soft piano music plays. Narrator, final line, the next treasure might just be in your pocket.